More information now coming in. We turn our attention from the G20 to the investigations pertaining to Shraddha Walkar and the violent death that she was subjected to at the hands of Aftab Poonawalla. Times Now has now accessed certain chats on the part of Shraddha that have now come under the radar of the investigative agencies in this particular case. And we'll in fact wait for some more details onto what specifically those chats are. Let me in fact go across immediately to my colleague Pranesh. Pranesh, what kind of chats have now been accessed by the Delhi police? We'll in fact come to Pranesh in just a short while. But some of the conversations also where Aftab had allegedly impersonated Shraddha after having murdered her and tried to put out certain messages on the social media as well as conversations with friends are now also under the scrutiny of the Delhi police. Let me now go across to Pranesh to take us through some of those chat conversations that are now under the radar of the Delhi police. Over to you, Pranesh.
Siddharth, Times Now leading the coverage on the Shraddha murder probe. Priyank Tripathi has accessed Instagram chats, screenshots in fact of Shraddha's Instagram chats. This is a private conversation that Shraddha was having with one of her friends, and in which she says, "Buddy, need help." The friend says, "Kya hua? Tell me what happened." She says, "Can you give me feedback on my first reel? If it needs anything," then this emoticon. The friend says, "Bas itna sa." The friend was thinking there's something else. Shraddha says, "Haan ji," then another smiley. Now, the important aspect of this chat that we've accessed on Times Now is the date. This is the 4th of May, 2022. Just a few days later, Shraddha would be killed. Her body chopped into 35 pieces. But on the 4th of May, she had no clue. She had no clue, which is why she is talking about the reels. And going just by the tone of the chat, she is happy. She does not know what is about to come. She is talking about the reel, talking to a friend, seeking feedback on the reel that she had made. Siddharth, can you believe it? And now investigations details that we have that suggest that Shraddha's account was used to buy the fridge. Shraddha paid for the fridge that would later be used to store her own body parts.
Absolutely, Pranesh, and not just that, even a credit card was used after she had died by Aftab Poonawalla. So those are the chats that we managed to access before Shraddha's death, where Shraddha is actually talking to a friend seeking feedback about a reel that she'd put out on the social media. Little did she know what she would have to then go through in a few days from then on when she was brutally murdered. Now, let's in fact also listen in to a bite that's come in from one of Shraddha's friends about the interactions that she had with Shraddha.
श्रद्धा की जब कल न्यूज़ आई, लिटरली इट वाज सो शॉकिंग, क्योंकि वो मेरी क्लासमेट थी, और क्लासमेट ही नहीं, फ्रेंड भी थी, कह सकते। कॉलेज में हम बात करते थे 2018 के बैच में। तभी उस समय वो काफ़ी अच्छी थी, काफ़ी अच्छा उसका बिहेवियर था। लेकिन कहीं ना कहीं अब जिस तरह से अभी ये हादसा हुआ, ऐसा लग रहा है कि शायद वो हमें, क्योंकि किसी लोगों को बताइए जो काफ़ी क्लोज थे, लेकिन हम भी थे उस समय, शायद ये गलती हुई कि हमने उसे ज़्यादा कोशिश नहीं किया बातचीत करने की, लेकिन वो अपने रिलेशनशिप को लेकर शायद बताना नहीं चाह रही थी। कहीं ना कहीं ये भी कारण है।
ओके, जनरली अपनी पर्सनल लाइफ को लेकर या रिलेशनशिप्स को लेकर वो किस तरीके की बातचीत करती थी? अगर आप लोगों ने कभी बातचीत करने की कोशिश की हो तो?
वो नहीं बताना ज़रूरी समझती थी, लेकिन हाँ ये ज़रूर पता है कि मतलब वो काफ़ी ज़्यादा अपने रिलेशनशिप को लेकर सीरियस थी।
So, Pranesh, that was an important interaction between our correspondent and one of Shraddha's friends, who said that she was very secretive about the relationship that she had with Aftab. And the chat that you just took us through is another conversation with one of her friends where little did she know what she'd have to go through very soon after that. Let me in fact go across to Priyank. Priyank, the date of the chat that we've now managed to access, very important. This is before she was killed by Aftab. So, Priyank, let me just come back to you once again. That conversation that she had with one of her friends is dated the 4th of May, where she's seeking feedback on one of the reels that she's put out on social media.
Yeah, certainly. So that during that particular time period, Shraddha was there in Uttarakhand. She was there along with Aftab, and the couple had gone to Uttarakhand to stay there for at most 30 days of time period. They stayed there, and later to that went. She was posting her social media account, where she also posted a reel, which we saw yesterday. Also, these are the chat which happened in between her and her friend. I had gone to the office, Siddharth, where Aftab used to work, and it's a multinational company, and people were caught unaware that this monster was working there. But what we have got to know, apart from the Insta chat which happened in between Shraddha and her friends, that Aftab's colleagues were not aware about that. Actually, he was the one who was sitting next to them or not. We have sought a response from the company, because what we have got to know that soon after he was arrested by the Delhi police, he was terminated from his services. He was working as a client service assistant there in Gurgaon. So these are the things which will be certainly pieced together with the Delhi police officials. Right now we are standing outside this police station, and before the suspect can be taken out from this location, certainly there is utter silence, because the Delhi police is also clueless regarding next course of action they need to take in this case.
Absolutely. Let me, in fact, once again go across to Pranesh. Pranesh, take us through the details of those chats once again. And this is, of course, before she was killed by Aftab.
Now, it's also important, Siddharth, to talk about the friend who spoke to Times Now. Yes. Her name is Shraddha. Shraddha is the one who's having this conversation with Shraddha. So, Shraddha speaking to Shraddha on Instagram, talking about the reel. And let's once again underline the date here. 4th of May 2022. On the 18th of May, Shraddha was brutally killed, her body chopped into 35 pieces by Aftab. Aftab, the man Shraddha loved deeply, left her parents, left Bombay to come to Delhi. And look what she's talking about, because she had no clue of what would happen on the 18th. Buddy need help. She says, Shraddha says, kya hua? Tell me, can you give me feedback on my first reel if it needs anything? Shraddha says, bas itna sa, only this, Hanji, and this chat ends. And then Shraddha tells us that she did not hear anything from Shraddha after the 4th of May. Now, we have other accounts that we will play out shortly. We've spoken to two friends who said, one friend says that, look, Shraddha was repeatedly abused and beaten by Aftab. So we were not surprised when the news came out that Aftab had killed Shraddha. Then there's friend number 2 who says Shraddha sent an SOS call. Shraddha told her friends that come rescue me.
Absolutely, Pranesh. Those are the details of the chat that Shraddha had with Shraddha, who spoke to us a short while ago, and Shraddha actually told us that Shraddha did not mention her relationship with Aftab with any of her friends or most of her friends. In fact, let me go across to Priyank once again. Priyank, these are all under the radar now of the Delhi police, which is of course trying to piece together the exact sequence of events to unearth more information that Aftab may have not really shed so much light on in his interactions with the Delhi police so far.
For the investigation front, Siddharth, these things will come up when all these friends of Shraddha will be questioned by the Delhi police, and that process is yet to start. But these are the glimpses which clearly indicate that what kind of person she was. She was a very jovial kind of person. She knew that she was a young girl, very friendly with other friends of her. And when she posted this particular post on Instagram, she also sought her opinion from the friend regarding the reel. The reel was regarding her sitting on the bank of Rishikesh, in the bank of Ganga Nadi in Rishikesh, and she had put in some audio song also into this. So later to that, on 5th, till 5th, Shraddha was living a normal life. She was living peacefully. What happened in between those time period when she came to Delhi, and what happened in between that is the biggest mystery for the Delhi police, because the only person who can tell it to them is Aftab, who has been lying again and again. Cops have moved an application for narco test, but since his approval is still awaited, we are yet to get a response from the court when his approval will be given, that whether he will go through that or not, because the police could not find any more evidence when they had taken Aftab to the forest area, and no further body remains were found. The skull and the torso of the body is still missing for the police officials.
Right.
So that is a very clear-cut evidence for which they are relying upon. Internet search history, all these circumstantial evidences.
Absolutely. Those are all aspects of the investigation still underway on the part of the Delhi police. In fact, we have three guests joining us right now. Dr. Jayanti Datta, criminal psychologist, Dr. Sanjeev Bagai, chairperson of Nephron, and Mr. Arvind Jain, the former DGP of Uttar Pradesh. Dr. Datta, coming to you first. Can this actually be described as a crime of passion, or is it completely the opposite, given the kind of precision that was involved in the cover-up of the crime by Aftab Poonawalla?
You are answering yourself. It can't be a crime of passion. See, the planning, the modus operandi, everything does not really in any way support the love angle. And I refuse to believe that it was all of a sudden thing which got into this, There is a very, very cool, calculated planning. And now I was listening to you that, you are not able to trace the instrument with which he carried out the crime. Initially, he said, I used a saw. And now that is very, very essential for us to find. Because if you interrogate the perpetrator properly, he has to tell you what has he done with the skull and how has he chopped up the body. You cannot possibly chop off the adult body like that with just a sharp knife. You need certainly a better instrument. And he had said somewhere that he bought it. We must identify the shop where from he bought it.
Yes.
Now slowly, the chances are he must be thinking, the person who can give end to this kind of a gruesome crime, I'm sure he is cunning enough to, even plan out his defensive strategy.
Absolutely, Ms. Datta. In fact, he's been accused of trying to mislead the police. Let me take this across to Nakul as well, who's joining us from the Mehroli forest, where a lot of these body parts were in fact disposed of. Nakul, around 10 body parts, we don't really know if they belong to Shraddha, have now been recovered by the Delhi police, but the head as well as the torso, which is also essential for the investigation, is yet to be found.
Yes, absolutely, Siddharth. And so far, the Delhi police have managed to find out some of the evidences from this particular Mehroli forest. Although the official report in this particular matter is very crucial to understand if the DNA matches of the body of Shraddha, because it is very important for the official team as well, and to find out if the evidences which were collected from this particular forest. Yesterday, there were search operation which was also carried out. Today, also the search operations were also carried out. Remember, this is a very difficult task for the police. You can see behind me that this particular forest is a very dense forest where the police is carrying out their search operations. What we have given to understand is that 3 police teams have been formed. One is looking at the hard evidences, the hard facts which are there at the Mehroli forest area, to find out if there are all evidences, body parts which could be collected or traced from here, as Priyank was also mentioning that how the skull and the torso is missing, which is very crucial in this particular investigation. So because we have the technology to find out if the Delhi police would be able to find out the skull, they could trace who the skull belongs to. So these are very crucial evidences so far as per the evidences is concerned.
Thanks, Nakul. In fact, let me go across to Dr. Bagai as well. Dr. Bagai, how important is the recovery of the remaining body parts, because it's yet to be ascertained as to what's been recovered so far actually matches with the DNA profile of Shraddha?
Hi, good afternoon. So just a couple of points. Just listening to the previous speaker, I completely agree. This is not a love angle or any such thing. This is a complete case of a psychopath. These people are masters of deception and lies. They are strategists to the core. They know what to do. They plan their murders much before, weeks and months before. So obviously finding a murder weapon in any forensic investigation would be very important. To recreate the crime scene is important.
Okay.
But even if, let's say, the person has disposed of or burnt or is unwilling to disclose the location of the complete body part, some of the body parts are sufficient enough to establish the DNA and forensic samples.
Yes.
That's for the victim. But with regards to the person who is at the moment arrested as alleged guilty, his forensic investigations in terms of toxicology, drugs, alcohol abuse, those can also be done. I must add that skin, hair, body tissues retain any toxicology evidence for weeks together. So I think that's the police, I'm sure, would be doing. But this is a clear case of a very well-planned, orchestrated, a mental sick mindset which has unfolded, extremely heinous, one of the worst crimes. Must be completely debauched mentally.
Right, Dr. Bagai. Let me take this across to Rishabh as well. Rishabh was there at the police station at the time that Aftab was actually brought there. And Rishabh, you did give us an insight into his body language at that point in time. You said that he had a very calm demeanor. Take us through that a bit.
So, Siddharth, yes, on Monday evening when Aftab was taken to All India Institute of Medical Sciences, and when he was returning back from there, we tailed the police car from All India Institute of Medical Sciences till the Mehrauli police station. While Aftab was not aware that he is being captured on the camera, his body language actually was disturbing. He was quite calm. He was sitting, though his face was all covered up, but the way he was sitting in the car didn't show that there is a guilt or there is, a sense of remorse through that body language. The way he was sitting in the back seat of the gypsy, the police van that was carrying him back after the medical to the Mehrauli police station, the way he was in the car for almost half an hour that we tailed him, and we did record that sequence for our viewers as well. It wasn't as if that he understands or he feels what wrong he has done, what gruesome crime that he has committed. So that is one thing that came out during that whole sequence when we were tailing him on Monday evening. And apart from that, the way when he realized that we are actually tailing him, the way he stared
Absolutely,
at
Rishabh. So of course you gave us an insight into the kind of body language on Aftab at the time that he was taken to the police station. But one very important missing link in this entire web is the fact that the skull of Shraddha is yet to be recovered. And why is the recovery of the skull so important? The negative of the skull will be taken upon recovery. It is yet to be recovered. We don't yet know where exactly it's been disposed of. Secondly, and this is of course going to be part of the investigations, the positive of Shraddha photo will also be taken. So therefore there will be DNA profiling as well subsequently that will be undertaken. Both will be then superimposed for the identification to ensure that the skull actually belongs to Shraddha. The soft tissues of the body cannot be found so far, so therefore it's imperative that the skull is actually recovered. The soft tissues might have already become decomposed. Remember, the body was in fact disposed of in the month of May, so almost 6 months have now elapsed. All body parts may also not belong to Shraddha, so therefore the 10 body parts that have already been recovered by the police, unless they match the DNA of Shraddha, they can't conclusively be said to be hers. The possibility of injury to the skull cannot also be ruled out. Remember that it's been 6 months since the time that these body parts were actually scattered across different parts of Mehrauli forest. At least that's the indication so far. The recovery of the skull might also end up aiding the identification process, and one cannot simply rely at this point in time entirely on the narrative of the accused, who's Aftab, and all the parts need to be, of course, brought together to establish the identity of the victim in this particular matter. Now we have some more breaking news coming in now. More details are out pertaining to the investigation into the death of Shraddha, and a lot of the evidence that has now been accumulated have been passed on to the FSL lab, which will of course have to investigate conclusively over the body parts that have now in fact been recovered. Let me in fact go across to Sabyasachi for more on this. Sabyasachi, the FSL lab will be of course piecing all the evidence together and coming up with some kind of a conclusion as to whether or not the DNA profile matches with that of Shraddha. The blood samples are something that they're now examining. Also, the blood stains as well. Let me in fact go across to Sabyasachi for more on this. Sabyasachi, what can you tell us about what the FSL is now piecing together as evidence in this matter?
Well, the FSL have said that they have collected blood samples from the kitchen, and the area from where they have collected these blood samples were completely untouched. So this particular piece of evidence would be very crucial and could establish the fact that Shraddha was killed in that particular apartment. The FSL team has collected the samples, and they will be collecting the blood samples from Shraddha's father as well. And once the DNA sampling is done, then it will be a very crucial evidence for the investigating team to prove that Shraddha was murdered in that particular apartment, because most of the evidences has been cleaned by Aftab with the use of acid inside the apartment. But there are some untouched corners inside the kitchen. That's what the FSL sources tell us, which these samples have been collected by them.
And Sabyasachi, this is absolutely important. Like you said, these are blood samples that have been collected from certain untouched corners in the kitchen, where presumably some of the mutilation might have also have been undertaken by Aftab after he killed Shraddha.
Well, absolutely. See, these are very crucial pieces of evidence, because as of now, if you see, police did not have any sort of incriminating evidence against Aftab. Most of the evidences were of circumstantial basis. If you talk about the narco test also, which is not admissible, be it the psychoanalysis as well. So this time around, the police was really banking on some strong evidence, be it the skull of Shraddha or the torso area of Sarja, which the search operation is going on. But if they have collected these blood samples from the untouched area of kitchen, then it's going to prove a major evidence and can really help police in the investigation, because Aftab has not been cooperating properly, because he has not disclosed yet as where he has put Shraddha's phone or the murder weapon.
Sabyasachi, let me in fact go across to our guests, Dr. Bagai as well as Dr. Datta, still with us. Dr. Datta, coming to you now, tell us about the meticulous nature in which the evidence and the body was actually disposed of. What does that tell you about the psyche of the accused involved in this case?
Nothing especially specific. See, these kind of gruesome perpetrator who give end to these kind of gruesome crimes, they have the same kind of habits all over the world. Now, if you look at the foreign countries, these kind of things happen very often. And then the first thing that the perpetrator keeps on changing the version. It's an evidence that he is telling you lies. Now, whole thing has to be recorded. I am amazed. The investigation, the interrogation, a man who is going every day at a particular time to a particular place to dispose of the body
right,
parts.
Dr. Datta, let me just interrupt you,
Why
we're still, in fact, breaking a very important piece of news right now, and that is that Shraddha's last Instagram reel, the one that she was actually referring to, has now been accessed. This is the last Instagram post by Shraddha, shortly before she died, and this is the reel for which she was seeking the feedback of one of her friends, Shraddha, who also spoke to the media and said that she was being very secretive about her relationship with Aftab. But this is the latest reel that has now been accessed by Times Now. This is the latest reel that Shraddha had put out on Instagram not long before she died. It reveals one person sitting close to what looks like a lake, and then just soaking in the surroundings, and that's the feedback that she'd sought from her friend Shraddha about the reel that she'd now put out on social media. And this is around the 4th of May, where she specifically messages Shraddha and then seeks her feedback about this specific reel that she's now put out on social media. Let me go across to Sabyasachi for more on this. Sabyasachi, we've managed to access that reel, and this is for what she was in fact seeking the feedback of her friend Shraddha.
Well, absolutely. See, Times Now have accessed the last reel that Shraddha has posted on her Instagram account, and she was talking with her friend regarding this particular reel as well, because she was quite active, and that's what her father has even told her, that though they were not talking, but her father used to see her social media account, and that's how he used to know that she is all right. And that's the thing that Aftab has used to manipulate, be it Shraddha's family or Shraddha's friend, because after he brutally murdered her, he used her social media account to be in touch with her friends as well, to showcase that everything is all right. So this was the plan of Aftab after he killed Shraddha, to show that everything is fine. So definitely from this, Siddharth, we can understand that all of this has to be very well planned. This cannot happen at a moment. He was planning it for quite some time, and to Delhi police also, he have said that before 1 week he had actually planned to kill Shraddha, and that is the reason why he was continuously watching those criminal OTT series and movies, and also reading a lot of novels, crime novels, that the police have also found out while they were carrying out their searches inside that apartment.
And Sabyasachi, there's one more question. Is this reel from Rishikesh? Can you just confirm the location that is in fact being put out on Instagram by Shraddha at the time that she was seeking the feedback of one of her friends on the specific reel that she's published on social media?
Well, Siddharth, it has to be the reel from Himachal, because at that particular time they said that the couple, after they moved out from Mumbai, they decided that they have to give a last chance to the relationship, and that is why they decided to go out on a trip to Himachal, and after that they decided to come to the national capital. And it would be the police, though the police have said that Aftab had a plan to kill Shraddha when they were in Maharashtra, because because Shraddha was having problem with Aftab talking to other women. This is what he has told to Delhi police, in fact, in his confession, that he was in touch with other women, and this was a major reason why there were a lot of fights that broke out between them, and he was completely frustrated with the fights, and that's the reason why he decided to kill her. So that is what he has told in the confession. But Siddharth, the confession is not accessible, admissible in court. But the police has to prove these statements with the evidence that they have gathered or they are gathering. The witnesses in this case will be very important, to whom Shraddha was in contact at the time of their relation, whether she was actually talking to her friends and sharing the details of her relationship. We have seen some of her friends coming on record and stating that Shraddha was going through an abusive relationship, and there have been times where her friends have gone to her house to rescue her and even warn Aftab.
Yes, what you're seeing on air right now, viewers, the last chats, the last reel that Shraddha was making, she was in Himachal, she was in Rishikesh, according to what she has posted along with her reel. She was near the Ganges, she was seeking peace. And joining me now on the broadcast are Dr. Jayanti Datta, who's a criminal psychologist, and Dr. Sanjeev Bagai, chairperson of Nephron. Why these things are important? Why would police be looking to seek out these signs on their social media feed? Is to understand what really could have been going on in her mind. We now know through her friends that she was undergoing a very abusive relationship. She might be seeking an escape from it as well, but then why did she want this person to marry her? The question, Miss Dr. Datta, right now that everybody is worried about, that this could be us. Can you just help us understand why would an independent woman continue to be in a relationship that was clearly not working for her?
I would go a little further and say why an independent woman will go for a one-night stand to a man like this. He could bring in any woman he was having affair with or dating, and he brought her only for one-night stand. Now, why this happens? Now, especially if you talk about Shraddha wanted to get out of it, but understand her plight. She had nobody to fall back upon. If she wanted to come out, these kind of perpetrators, always they are so smart, they just manipulate everything, and they threaten you with a very finer assurances, with a very finer conviction that if you don't listen to me, if you try to disobey me, that's the end. Now this girl must have a thought, let me abide by whatever he is asking me to do, and then pretend she is okay with whatever he is doing, with the hope that maybe her friends, maybe someday, sometime she will be able to get out. I want to raise one more thing. Now for the investigation, if this man was going to a particular forest every night, why doesn't the police take him and make him walk into the same scenario where all he was
happening? He's actually been taken twice to the same place in order to also recover the remains, but we have also managed to get more details that, as you were pointing out, show how this man very cleverly put up pretenses. He a couple of days after having chopped her live-in partner of 4 years, went and got a job for himself. Can you imagine what the employees of that company would be going through right now, thinking that a murderer like this was amongst them? He would be probably sharing the cabs on their way back home. He would probably be also taking some of the staff out for dates, and who would be completely unaware of his criminal antecedents. Times now has managed to track the company where he used to work. Here is a ground report.
After trying to find the location where Aftab was working and trying to piece together his lifestyle, we have come to this multi-national company location, which is JPS2 of Gurugram. This location is 12 kilometers away from the residence where Aftab and Shraddha were living. He was walking on one of the floors of this building. We tried to get in touch with the management of the company, but they have also not come out. We tried to reach out to them. But what we have got to know that before the arrest by the Delhi police, Aftab was terminated by the company because he was not frequent person. He was not frequently visiting here. This is also questioning the lifestyle which he was following even after death of Shraddha, after her murder. He kept on coming to the office trying to portray a normal lifestyle.